In the seed starting system, spacing decisions are represented by two separate but equally important groups. The planners, who calculate spacing to a T, and then there are the wild ones, who throw plants in at random. These are their stories.
Hi flower friends, it's Nicole from Flower Hill Farm, and today is a grow along video. So a lot of you guys were asking about spacing when it comes to the seeds that you're starting for the grow along. I know some of you guys are further along than others. I myself have not even started any seeds yet for my grow along because I'm in upstate New York zone 4B. My last frost date isn't until between May 15th and May 20th. Sometimes as late as Memorial Day. I always have to keep an eye on it as we get closer. So I am not yet in the seed starting stage, but I am in the planning stage. And I want to share with you guys how I'm planning out my plot. I've decided to fill a 3-foot wide by 20-foot bed. And I'm going to break that bed down into 6 different spaces for all 6 of the flowers we're growing in the grow along. 4 of those sections are going to be 3 feet wide, and 2 of those sections are going to be 4 feet wide. So when you add them all up together, they'll equal 20 feet. So in order to figure out how many seedlings you need for that space, you can do the math on paper, or you can do it in your head, figure out the spacing and the rows and all that stuff. Or you can use a tool that I've been using for a couple of years now that is so handy, and it's actually a calculator on the Johnny's website. You can find it in the Growers Library section. You click on the Growers Library section and you can find the seedling calculator. Now it will tell you how many seeds or how many seedlings you need to fill a section. So I'm not using the part on the left here, but if you were doing this for vegetables and you knew you had green beans and you wanted to see how many green beans, you had a 5-foot section by 5-foot section, how many green beans do you need? You would choose green beans and then choose how long your space is, and it will actually tell you how many seedlings you need or how many seeds you need to fill that space with green beans. Because we're using flowers, we're going to use the calculator on the right. So it gives you 2 choices. You can choose the US, inches, or you could use metric and centimeters. And I think that's super handy that they're accommodating everyone in this. So then you decide how many inches will be in between your plants. So let's go through these one at a time. And I've already done this for you. I've already done these calculations for spacing on the Google Sheet that I shared with you guys before. But this seedling calculator can be used for anything, not just the grow along. You can use it to plan out all aspects of your farm. All you need to know is the space between your plants, how long your bed is, and how many rows are inside that bed. And of course, this is just an example of what I'm doing for spacing and the size of the bed that I'm doing. You guys can choose any size bed you want and use this exact same calculator. Let's start with snapdragons. So for snapdragons, I've calculated that we're gonna space them at 4 inches apart. Now, if you are more comfortable with a 6-inch spacing, go ahead and plug 6 inches in. But I've been growing these for a few years now, and I find 4 inches is perfect when it comes to snapdragons. So we're gonna plug in 4 inches for the first number, and the second number is asking me how long the bed or the row is, and then the third number I need to calculate is how many plants I'm going to actually have in that 3-foot wide space. So just to be safe, I put down 8 rows for snapdragons. It depends on how close to the edge you put your first plant. I don't like them to be right up on the edge of my bed, so I start them a couple of inches in. So I'm gonna say that there are 8 rows inside that bed, and it's 3 foot long. So this calculates out to 72 snapdragons I'm going to be able to fit in that 3 feet of bed space that I've dedicated to snapdragons. Okay, so the Goldilocks rudbeckia. So rudbeckia also using 3 feet of that bed, and they are gonna be spaced at 6 inches apart. I'm using 6 inches, that's what I used last year. If you're looking to perennialize these rudbeckia, you can maybe space them at 9 or even 12 inches apart. So you decide how far apart you want your flowers. I'm putting them at 6 inches. So with these calculations, I say about 6 rows inside that area. So 6 inches, 3 feet long, and then 6 rows. And that calculates out to 36 rudbeckia seedlings you're going to need to fill that 3-foot space. Moving on to sunflowers. The packets that you guys received with the grow along only has 50 seeds. So you can fill a 3-foot space by spacing them between 4 and 6 inches apart. So you can go ahead and move them. You can start all 50 of them and fill that space. The closer you plant your sunflowers together, the smaller the heads of the flowers will be. So keep that in mind, because you don't want them to be kind of way too big because you're trying to put them in a bouquet. Or maybe you want them to be large because you're not planning on cutting these and you want to see them in your landscape. Let's move on to the cinnamon basil. I cannot wait. I'm having withdrawals. I'm seriously having basil withdrawals. I might have to start some seeds like today just so I can smell them. If you guys have already started it, just go ahead and remind me how delicious it smells in the comments. Okay, so the cinnamon basil, I want a little bit more of because, I mean, why not? So I'm doing a 4-foot bed of cinnamon basil and I'm spacing these at 8 inches apart. So with 8 inches apart, let's say that there are going to be 5 rows inside that bed. So that means you're going to have 30 basil seedlings or plants that you will be able to fill that 4-foot space in. That brings us to zinnias, the Binary Giant Mix zinnias. Now your packet only has 50 seeds in it, and I would recommend starting all of them to fill this space, because once you plug into these numbers with a 6-inch spacing, it tells me that I need 40 plants. So I think starting all 50 of the zinnias is a good idea to fill a 4-foot space. Okay, that brings us to the final one, which is baby's breath. I'm very excited about this lady lace. So this, I'm also gonna space at 8 inches, same with the basil. It says on the packet to do 12. I think with experience, 8 inches is gonna be okay. And this is gonna be a 3-foot row as well. So at 8 inches apart with 5 rows in this 3-foot bed, that means I'm gonna need about 23 plants. I'd start more than that. And that's just a word of advice. You know, you're gonna need X amount of plants to fill a space. You need to start more than that because you can expect some poor germination. Maybe some seedlings aren't gonna make it. So you always have to anticipate that. So I usually start between 15 and 20% more than I actually need, because I wanna make sure that at least the number that I want is gonna make it into the ground. I just wanted to share this amazing tool that I've been using for a couple of years now, and I really hope that you guys are able to kind of figure out what you want as far as beds and how big you want your beds. And don't be afraid to just pop them in the landscape too. Remember that sunflowers definitely are something you want to protect from the deer. So I'm so excited because we're almost to March, which is the month where I'm going to be starting the majority of these seedlings. So I'll have more to share with you and more videos to come. So anyway, thanks for sticking around, guys, and we'll see you soon.
Dun, dun.